Hi everyone, so we will now do another tutorial, and this time we're going to do a repeat of the previous tutorial, but we're going to link the robot arm using schematic view. So it's a slightly different way of doing things. So the first thing we do, we open the robot arm file. So we look for our robot arm file, which is here in the where it is in document here, and it's this robot arm start. So we make sure that we go to system unit scale. So we rescale the file object to system unit scale. We do Control Shift Z, so we have everything in line. And then we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it differently. So what we're looking for, we're looking on the toolbar for the schematic view button, which is this one. And when we click on this, this is what we have. We have this file with this list of things. So we make things a bit more user-friendly. We move this here. Let's put it here, here, and we have our hierarchy here. Right. So what's this dialog? It's basically a tool to creating and manipulating hierarchies. So the schematic view is to manipulate and to create and to edit and to modify hierarchies. So we can do that without going to the actual viewport, and we can zoom in, we can zoom out, we can zoom in and we can move around, usual stuff. Nothing very, well, normal graphical user interface really. So let's make sure everything is visible. We can see on the left we have the floor, and then we have all these elements. So what we can do now is we can select the node clamp 1 and clamp 2. We do the same thing that we did before, but this time we select the node 1 and clamp 2. So clamp 1 and clamp 2. Here they are. We can also check on the scene, and indeed they are selected. And what we do when you have that, we click on the connect tool. So it's the same story, but it's here. So it's the same idea of using the connect tool, but this time we do it in the schematic view. And we click on the connect tool. And so we click on the connect tool, and now we're in the connect tool, and we drag the form and we connect. So the same story, we click on this and then we drag and we connect it to the 360-degree head pivot. So we do, what have I done? Like this to the head pivot here. Oh, sorry, I need to select both. Like this, and then we select both, and we have the same bungee link, the main elastic link, and you connect that to the head pivot, which is here. So now the clamp 1 and clamp 2 are under the head pivot. So what we now have is that the two clamp 1 and clamp 2 are children of the head pivot. And then we can do the same, and we connect the 360. So we go to the selection. So remember to change from the connect to the select. We select the 360 clamp, and this time we connect it to the vertical head pivot. So we collect on it's selected, we connect with the 360 head pivot is selected, then we choose the connect tool, and then we click and drag. So we click on this and we drag it to the vertical head pivot. So we click and we drag into the vertical head pivot. And that's what we have. So now the 360 head pivot is connected to the vertical head pivot. Now that we have that, we can move to the next step, which is to connect that to the horizontal head pivot. So again, we go to the selection, we select the vertical head pivot, then we press on the connect tools, we click and drag and do this. Then we carry on doing that for a few other tools. So the next one is we select the horizontal. So we go to the selection tool, we click the horizontal head pivot, and you're going to connect it to the head holding. So the horizontal head pivot, we then press the connect, and then we connect the horizontal head pivot to the head holding. So we have the horizontal head pivot is now a child of the head holding. Then the head holding is a child of the third pivot. So we select the head, then we click on connect, and we make this connection. And then we do the same, so on and so forth. The third pivot becomes a child of the second arm, and then the second arm becomes a child of the second pivot, and then the second pivot becomes a child of the first arm. So we're doing what we've done in the previous tutorial, but we do it differently. And then the first arm, so we can move around here. The first arm becomes a child of the first pivot. You can also see it on the viewport. And then, let's say the first pivot becomes a child of the base holding. Oh, sorry. So we select again. And then the base holding is becoming a child of the base. And then when we've done that, we are happy with ourselves. So now we're going to save all this. So we've done all this. We can go back to the file, and now we save as, and we save it as example 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2. And we make sure it's saved, yeah. So it's a bit faster than doing things otherwise. And we can check that we got it all right, because we can go here and we can do, for example, a rotation. So if you maximize this view, Alt W, and we do a rotation, the whole robot should rotate. Yeah, okay. So that means we haven't got anything wrong. And if we rotate this, and again, make sure you choose here local. So when you rotate here, see it all rotate the way it should. And if I do translation here, oh sorry, oh, that shouldn't be what I should have. Rotation. Okay, so I'm pressing the wrong rotation here. So see, it does the right thing, but you have to make sure you use the right manipulation to work. Otherwise, you get things that don't make sense. So there's still a little bit of work to be done. So here we are. So doing what we need to do. Right, now we can save the file, and you can move to the next work. So we've connected this. So now we need to link the robot arm using the schematic view. So what we do next, we click on schematic view, here it is, and we go to options, and we always arrange, we go to preference, and we have these different options. So background image file none, and we click this one, open. and we have to click show image here, and then we click OK. And now this is what we now becoming a bit more interesting. So now what we do, so you remove the grid, so it's the G key, and we need to do a few things. So we go back to options, preferences, and this time we lock zoom pan and say OK. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do these things. So we're going to move each object into what they represent on the picture. So remember, we're in a schematic view, and each one of these objects we're going to move them where they should be. So the base should, so what we do, we take the base object and then we move it. Okay. How do we move that? So we select the node, and then we're going to overlap them onto in the figure into the area where they belong to. So when I select the object, make sure you don't move the children, because when you move like this, everything moves. But if move the children is selected, when you move this, the whole thing moves. Also make sure the option is not always arranged, because then you will get some problem with that. So leave it like this, remove move children, and then put the base where it should be, which is here. A bit lower. So we don't want the children to move. We don't want to have always. So we don't want the option always orange, and you want this to move here, this to move here, and we can start. So clap 1 and clap 2 are moved together on top and on bottom of the clamp. So we have clamp 1 here and clamp 2 here. We have base here, we have base holding, we have first pivot, we have first arm, we have second pivot, we have second arm, we have third pivot, we have head holding, we have horizontal just here, we have vertical pivot, and then we have this. Yeah, so that's here. Okay. So now what you can do, so now visually it's easier for us to understand what's going on, because we can look at it like this and know exactly which node is which and where it's connected in relation to the robot parent. So now what you're going to do, you're going to carry on with something else. So we've done that, and we're going to choose those different nodes that do not represent any rotations. And one thing we need to see, for example, if we have this and we click on second pivot here, it's highlighted here. And if we rotate here and make sure it's local, yeah, You see how things rotate. So it's all working. Right. So we go back here. We select the nodes that do not represent rotational joints, so they're not joints, and we're going to do something to them. So we select these nodes that are not joints. There's the head holder, there's the second arm, the first arm, and the base holder. And then we're going to do this. We're going to shrink these, and we're going to shrink selected. Okay, so no, nothing happens to them. What we're also going to do, we're going to change these to schematic view. We're going to call it robot arm. And when you close here, I want you to recall that we just go to the graph editor, and we should have here in our save schematic view, we have the robot arm. And then when you open, here we are. So now we've done that, we can move to the next step, which is to do inverse kinematic. So thank you for following so far. So we save the file, and then we can carry on with the project, with the tutorial. Thank you.